Uh, Hello. How are we all doing? Hope everybody is doing great. I'm doing pretty well, which is exciting. It's our first official live stream of season launch. Let's go. Um, I'm really excited to be here. I love Figma. This is one of my favorite mini events and events that we do at a hackathon in general. So let's go ahead and get started. For everybody that is joining us, and we've got a nice crowd today, let's go ahead and check in at the link that's showing up right on the screen. I'm also going to go ahead and post it in the chat for all of my viewers to see, so you can go ahead and look at our check-in link right there. Hi everybody, seeing a nice big crowd. Howdy. Gonna give you all a minute or two to get checked in, and then you will also need to grab some important links for this live stream. There are two of my personal favorite recommended links. First of all, we've got our Figma student account. So this is how you can sign up for a Figma student account here. I believe that you should be able to put down Major League Hacking as a school if you are not able to verify with your current institution. For those of you who are students, though, if you have a current institution, then you can go ahead and verify using that link there, which is awesome. And then up next, I'm also going to go ahead and share. Actually, I'll leave this stream up here. I've never used Figma before. Will this stream add any value to me? Totally. This one's super beginner friendly. It doesn't assume that you have a ton of prior Figma experience, if any. I've run it before with a crowd of entirely first-time Figma users, and it went really well, and everyone loved it. So you're going to have a great time. So you should definitely stick around. And yeah, for a little bit about me, I'm going to go ahead and share this link to claim your Figma Student Developer Pack as well. So we'll do here. We're going to go to banners. We're going to click save. I'm going to create a new one. It's going to be a bottom. Claim your Figma student dev account. We're going to do that on the screen. And now that will go ahead and fly through the screen here. And in about a minute, I'm going to take off all of our streams. All right, I'm doing hi guys. Hello. And hello from all of our lovely viewers on both YouTube and Twitch. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, hi. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and have us all start with our Figma and Figma Dev Mode kind of introductory stream. So a few notes before we get started. What copy should I upload? If it's asking for you to upload a proof of your school status, anything like a photo of your student ID, if it has your graduation date on it, or a transcript, or a report card, something else. Try to do, so if you're not a student right now, go under boot camp, and then it should say school not listed, and then you should be able to add Major League Hacking. But yes, a few notes before we get started, right? During this workshop, we're going to gain access to Figma Dev Mode, cover some Figma fundamentals, learn and work with Dev Mode, and then build a quick project and bring that project to life. It's a super fun workshop. I'm really excited for it. You should be too. So I'm going to go ahead and take off our check-in link, and I am going to bring back our music. Let's go ahead and do it a little bit more muted. Those electropop. Maybe I'm in lo-fi mood. We'll stick with lo-fi for the day. We got more comments. What about school name? So if you are a current student, does not matter whether you are in high school, college, in graduate school, you should put down your school name. If you are not a current student, you can try to verify with the bootcamp online course part with putting down major department. Hopefully that answered. All right, are we all ready? So first of all, let's spend a few minutes talking about what Figma is and kind of their goal about it. So if anybody in the chat wants to drop what they've used Figma for before and maybe what their favorite project in Figma has been, if they've used it before. While we wait for the chat to, which MLH link are we using? So to verify your Figma subscription, you're going to mlh.link/Figma. To check into the event, you are using MLH events.mlh.io/events/12/717. And hopefully that answers your question. Okay, let's go back and talk a little bit through my favorite Figma features. So we've got 4 key kind of Figma highlights. So first of all, Figma Design. This is by far Figma's most popular product. It's used by designers worldwide. It is currently the most popular design collaboration platform that's mainly used for designing websites and mobile apps, right? And lots of people highlight how they find it easily accessible and they've used it for prototypes. I've used it for prototypes and a host of a variety of other things. Also, we have FigJam, which is a whiteboard, a brainstorm app tool. It can be used for meetings, brainstorm, diagrams, planning, research, and anything in between. You can use text, shapes, drawings, images, widgets, and other elements to visually represent ideas. It can be used for flowcharts and everything, anything and everything in between, which is also super awesome. Then there's Figma Slides, which, just in case you were wondering, this lovely slideshow was also made in Figma Slides. So this is an online multi-user slide creation tool that allows you to also use Figma Design. It incorporates, adding in prototypes, allows you to create concurrently with other users, integrate interactive widgets, gather feedback, and embed prototypes for your class and maybe project design presentations. Figma Slides is kind of a rogue course. It doesn't get a lot of love, but it's more than it. And then we have our last, but certainly not least, feature that we're going to talk about today, which is Figma Dev Mode. So Figma Dev Mode allows for you to show off your designs, to use code gens to get useful information for HTML and CSS for structure and styling based on your designs. If you're building a mobile app, you can use this for both iOS and Android. There's an option to put school not listed. And I think everybody else's sound is fine, so double check your settings and then let me know if you're still having issues. And then if you're building a mobile app, you can switch between iOS and Android. If you're building with other frameworks, you can install third-party extensions. You can incorporate Figma Dev Mode into your React app or your Tailwind CSS. It allows for you to add in annotations, component versions, has a built-in VS Code extension, and tons of other workflow projects. For the purposes of this workshop, we'll be using 2 things, Figma Design and Figma Dev Mode, which I'm super excited for. Okay, let me turn the music off then. At the very least, turn it down. See if that helps a little bit. I just like it to drown out in case I stop talking for a second. Now, some of y'all may be asking me why we should learn Figma or whether this stream will be useful for you, even if you are not a designer. Now, the most important part, right, is one of the biggest perks in learning Figma is being able to really use their design skills and kits, which are super helpful for anything and everything that you're planning to create going forward. So I'm a really, really big fan of Figma for that reason, but also it is at this point industry standard. So no matter whether you are going to be a designer yourself or whether you're going to be working with other designers on a team as a software engineer or a product manager, or working at a startup, or even just working on personal projects. Having access to this tool in your Hacker Toolkit is really great. Now, how do I get started with Figma? This is one of my favorite things in my entire sort of adventure and journey with Figma. You have preloaded design kits and design systems that help you not start from scratch when designing your apps. You can choose from your favorites that also help built into the pre-made app code and source code that you have. I'm most familiar with the Apple iOS design kit, so I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail. But the idea here is that you're saving time, which means you're not starting from scratch, both when you're first designing and then also when you're entering in dev mode. So Apple iOS and iPadOS kits, right, help you create beautiful and user-friendly apps on iPhones. It provides all the tools and components that you need to follow the human interface design guidelines, while also mimicking things in your designs that actually reflect what the app is going to look like on the screen. So for example, right, you've got all of the pre-made keyboard features, what text messages look like, your sign in and authentication buttons, and sliders, toggles, tab views, multi-controller selection, anything and everything in between that helps you create your fully fledged app. Then we also have our next option, which is, oh, come on, slide. You're not skipping. We skipped too far. Okay, cool. We're going to go back and talk about the Material 3 design kit. So this is your Android equivalent, right? Helping you build out consistent Android apps, includes ready-made components and styles and layouts that aligns with the Google Material Design principles and with what we can accomplish building out your Java apps, your Android apps in both Java and Kotlin. And then we have the Simple Design System. This is the web-based UI kit that helps developers and designers get started faster using pre-built examples and components. It offers well-organized and visually consistent designs, right, which are perfect for both beginners and professionals. Offers, one of the key things that we discuss. We can discuss. Go ahead and reach out if you're having issues with more of the MLH dev mode features. Go ahead and reach out to the support email over there and ask them a little bit more about that, and then go from there. Yep, and I'll go back to. So we have the Simple Design System, the Material 3 design system, and the iOS and iPadOS design systems. All right. Now, this is one of my favorite slides for learning a skill for the future. Why are you going to go through the trouble of actually learning how to use Figma when you have all of these other cool AI tools to begin with? This is mainly to help improve your design skills, no matter whether you are going to be a designer yourself or whether you'll be entering a field that is adjacent to design, or whether you're going to be working with designers, or even if you're going to be a user and you're not even pursuing a career in software engineering or tech. This is helping you tailor your designs, build the intent behind what you're creating, and is making you a better developer and better engineer, no matter how you really look at it. And those skills can transport you into any career and any opportunity you're pursuing. How does this actually work in the real world, and why should I care? Most teams are creating online products, are prototyping and designing in Figma. On professional teams, once designs are ready, design is handed off to developers. Knowing how to use Figma is a marketable skill, both being able to read a design and then actually put it into perspective into code, or being able to go through the design yourself. Where can I use Figma? Chrome, Firefox, Windows, Mac, mobile app, VS Code. Now, this is again, one of the really, really cool things that Figma has worked on in the last few months, or actually not in the last few months, but in a prolonged period of time. Also, I love how Figma slides embeds GIFs in here. But you have Figma in web mode on any modern web browser, including Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. There are Figma file apps and downloads. And there's a VS Code extension that for Figma dev mode, which is awesome. Yes, you can use Figma on VS Code. There's a VS Code extension. We'll show it off in a second. So, and then let's see here. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about accessing dev mode. Now, luckily for us, we did this at the start of the stream. So long story short, Figma dev mode exited the public beta in summer 2024. So now you have to have an education or professional enterprise plan to use. If you are a student, you can gain free access through an education plan by visiting mlhlink.figma and verifying your eligibility. You can give kind of your information here. If you sign in with your school email, it should be pretty automatic. You may need some other processes and works through there. Yeah. So this is kind of the part where you might have to verify with your current school's information, right? So if you are not a student, you'll either have to get a professional or an enterprise license, unfortunately. If you are a student, then you should go ahead and use your current school confirmation. I'm going to go ahead and give a few of us, let's say about 2 more minutes to figure out things up there. This is one of my favorite questions when talking about Figma in general, because yes, of course. Even if you're not going to be a designer yourself, chances are that if you enter a career in software engineering or you pursue development work in whatever way, shape, or form, you are going to be given system designs, right? Whether they're going to be front-end based or back-end based or layouts, prototypes, user features, anything and everything in between, you will be given that information, right? So being able to understand a design and take it from a designer's vision into an actual functional resource is a part of your job description. Especially if you are looking to go from entry level to mid and mid to senior, right? That's kind of one of those skills that helps transcend you. So totally useful to know how to understand designs, even if you end up not making them yourselves in your day and date career. Not to mention, it also helps a lot with app development if you're working on personal projects and in small groups, or even eventually in a startup setting. So yeah, awesome. Let's go ahead and take 1 more minute. I'm going to leave the link up to claim your Figma student dev account on the bottom and the check-in link up here too. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to going over the basics of Figma design. So we'll go ahead and spend some time working on that too. I'll go ahead and I think I will be able to, I'm hoping I will be able to. Maybe not. Okay. I may have to swap over from my slides back and forth, which would be kind of frustrating, but that's okay. Because I will definitely forget to do that a lot. But for Figma Design Basics, we're going to learn some of the essential of this go-to tool for designers and for teams of designers and developers and anything and everything in between. So let me go ahead and close up this guy. And then we are going to go ahead and open up a new Figma project. And I'm going to go into my personal category, into my drafts, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. So let me share my screen here. So I'm going to swap over now from my slides to, let me do share screen. You'll either get an email or you will see it when you go into your Figma account. I can show it to you in a second. So this is my Figma account for context. If I go into my settings, you can see some of my in here, either in team projects or I think if you go into your security, maybe no. Either way, you'll see either information about being a part of a free team or about being a part of an education or an enterprise team down on the bottom here when you first log in. Perfect. Yeah. This team is for education users only. New users will be required to verify their education status. So there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and head into my drafts here. I'm going to create a new design file. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and show you all some of the key features of the Figma design region. So we have 4 distinct regions. We have the canvas, we have the toolbar, and then we have the left and the right sidebars here on Figma. Right? So then from there, I'm going to go ahead and try and shrink everybody so I can read your comments and see the screen, which is getting a little hard, but let's try to do this way. Perfect. Okay, awesome. And now for your app, you can, zoom in and out using the controls listed on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and share those with you all. All right, so if I show you this screen, it'd be so helpful if I could put it in both methods here. Right, so you can go ahead and see some of the controls that you can use here, right? So you hold space and the your left mouse and drag. You can go ahead and slide using 2 fingers. You can zoom in and out, where you can either pinch with 2 fingers and whatever else you need in order to design. Then you also have the toolbar, which as I mentioned, is on the bottom. This is the hub for interacting with your canvas. Move lets you select and move objects around on the canvas. Frame lets you create frames, right, which are the main building blocks of Figma. They're also known as containers. Shape lets you create the various shapes like a rectangle. Pens let you create vector shapes and icons. Text lets you create and edit a text layer. Comment lets you create annotations on the canvas. Actions allows for you to see some of the productivity tools like Figma AI tools, plugins, and more. And then finally, div mode, where you can toggle in and out. Awesome. The left sidebar gives you access to layers, pages, and assets. So we have the assets panel where you can see local components or find components from kits and libraries. The main menu where we can access functions, actions, and settings. Pages where we organize ideas into different documents. And layers where we arrange objects in relation to each other. Will we be able to access these slides? I think so. I think what we can do is we can share a shorter version of them. I'm going to double check just in case. But I think the answer to that should be yes. That is cool. Just got a cool email about a cool book that I want to read. That's besides the point. Then the right sidebar is where you can access more info about your designs, right? So this is designing, viewing, and editing the design properties of layers, prototyping, viewing, and editing prototype interactions, flows, and settings. So you can see these in design mode and in prototype mode. And there is so much more. So this is where I will access things like the slides and lots of other resources. So mlh.link/Figma resources. I'm pretty sure this includes some similar resources. Oh, mlh.link/Figma resources. Is my link not working anymore? That's so sad. I've got to go ahead and flag that. Give me a second. Let me go ahead and do that. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and showcase off this part. So let's go through our next portion. We're going to work on a little UI card project, which is going to help us, well, understand the basics and test them with a quick demo project, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and jump more into that. We are going to, first of all, create a card component. So like promised, I'm going to go ahead and try to share this at the same time as all of these slides. I'm going to go ahead and try some things because this is going to be Perfect. There we go. So now we should be able to see my other screen. Can you add in a check-in link to the banner at the bottom? It's a little distracting. Sure. Yeah, let me actually just move it and remove it from now. I'd rather keep the Figma student dev account, and if anybody asks for the check-in link later, we'll just go ahead and share it with them. Not too concerned about getting that done. All right, awesome. So first step we're going to do is we're going to create a simple text box for our card's title. So what I can do there is, let me go ahead and stop this screen, share this guy. I want to share my whole screen. It's my Chrome tab, right? So that's my audience. Yep. And then can I share this tab instead? Awesome. Cool. So now if I press share, you should be able to do that. Perfect. So what I'm going to do first is create a simple text box for our card's title. So I will press T to go down into my formatter here and create a text box. I'm going to call this my first or GHW season launch. And then I'm going to go ahead and to make our text a little bit clearer, I'm going to set it to size 24. And I'm going to also make it bold. So I changed my size here. You can see some other features about the text, right? So we've got things like fill and strokes and effects, like drop shadows, lots of other things you can experiment with. We can also change the boldness here. I'm going to go ahead and set my text to bold and mine to 24. And now if I were to go ahead and go through our next type, if you want to create your GHW season launch, you can totally do that. In our example slides, we've got our first hackathon win. And then we can go from there. Awesome. Then up next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a text box and type in a title, right? And then we're going to create a rectangle shape right above it. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to this slide, right? And I'm going to scroll down. And then from there, let's go ahead and add in a rectangle. So that's to press R. I'm going to make my rectangle right above my season launch screen here. Let me make sure that they're the same size. I'm going to line it up this way. Perfect. And let's go ahead and check on our example here. Then we're going to go ahead and add in a description below the title using a text box again. Sweet. So if I were to go back and do this here, I'm going to create another text box. I'm not going to make this one bold. We'll do it regular. And we're going to lower our font size to 16. And let's type up a little section. I am so excited to be a part of GHW. Season launch 2025. This is my third season launch as an MLH coach. Awesome. So there's a couple things here that I want to improve with my slide. And the main one is just really changing our layout here. So you can see here that I want to be able to move my text box. Instead of making it stretch out and extend, I want to actually pop it all the way through until the end here. So this way, now when I type, because I swapped it from extending out, now so that extends it out this way. Awesome. Let's take a look at the next part, which is going to work on editing the image inside of the rectangle. So we're going to go ahead and share this tab instead. So I'm going to go ahead and select the rectangle, right? Then I'm going to pick on the fill color code. Then I'm going to go ahead and swap that from color to image here, and I'll have to upload it from the computer. Now, I know exactly what image I want here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the GHW season launch image. Which I have somewhere in here. Hold on, this is taking me longer than I thought. Is that perfect? Okay, so I'm grabbing the image. Perfect. So I've gone ahead and grabbed it. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this back down, which is pretty sweet. And then I'm going to go ahead and upload from computer. Go to my downloads folder and grab it. Perfect. So I can fit my image, right? I can crop my image so that it fits the dimensions. And then go from there. Perfect. So I've got my GHW season launch image. We're ready to roll. And let's go ahead and look at our next portion. So in addition to doing all of these steps, right, I'm going to go ahead and create a frame now to group everything together. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control, Alt, and G, or on Mac, Command, Option, and G. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of my things, and I'm going to do Command, Option, and G. And now that has created a frame, and I can see it when I open up my bar here, right? I go into File. Now you can see I have a frame called Frame 1. Well, actually, I forgot to swap it. So, cool. But going back through here, right, you can see I have a frame called Frame 1. I'm going to go ahead and redo this whole step because it's a little bit harder. So I'm going to do Command, Option, and G on Mac. So to drag everything, I'm just going ahead and using my mouse to drag and drop. And then Command Shift G, and now you can see, you can tell that it is a frame because it's called Frame 1 right on the top here, which is awesome. Awesome. Sweet. What do we got next? Let's take a look. So outside of this step, we are now going to use auto layout, which is going to involve clicking our Shift and our A key. I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on my frame. I'm going to hit Shift and A to use auto layout. And it says on the bottom now, auto layout added. Then I'm going to add some styling. Border stroke, align left, change dimensions, adding padding and gap, add corner radius, etc. So let's go ahead and add some styling. So I'm going to go ahead and change here to, right, so what are some of my recommendations? So I'm going to go ahead and enable hug. So we're hugging our contents. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set our layout direction to vertical. We're going to align our left here. And then our layout direction, just make sure it's vertical. Perfect. Alignment set to left. You can go ahead and change in here our vertical gap between objects and a horizontal padding and a vertical padding. I'm going to add a gap of 6 between all of my objects in the frame. And then I will add some vertical and horizontal padding of about 24. And then in this image, I think I would like to change it to fit. Maybe fill. Yeah, let's use fill here. And then what I think I would like to do too is extend out the boundaries also of my frame, just because I want to make sure that my frame objects here are lined up nicely. So just to double check, right? Now I have padding of 24 everywhere. All right, I have my frame. And then in the appearance section, I want to set corner radius to 16. And then in the stroke section, I'm going to set stroke width to 2. And let's go ahead and give it a white border. Okay, let me redo all of that. Oopsies. So we're going to go ahead and change all of this. Everything that I just did, which is fine. Awesome. So we have our, that's changing that, changing that, changing that. Awesome. So this is the step right before I made my frame, right? Yes. Let me redo that. So we have my frame, right? Everybody can see my screen now. I'm going to go and change some things about my frame. So first of all, I'm going to set it to vertical layout. I'm going to make it hug the contents of my screen. I'm going to align it left. I'm going to give it vertical padding of 24 and a horizontal padding of 24. And then some padding this way of 6. I'm going to change the fill, or change the corner radius to 16. And I'm going to add a stroke in white on the inside of my border with length height 2. And then because I'm not happy with the size of my frame, I'm going to go ahead and extend it out so that my frame matches sizing a little bit better. And perfect. We have my stylized frame, which is looking pretty great. Let me go ahead and swap back my screen, right, to make sure. I think I got everything that I needed. A couple more things I want to do. I definitely want to go back to my Figma and change this to be centered. And then I have, of course, my padding, my alignments here, my vertical, my hug, and everything else looks great. Awesome. Let's swap over and do the next part, which is creating a really big frame. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my Figma project. I'm going to create a second frame. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can just see my Figma portion. Is it? Oh yeah, no, that's totally more than okay. You should use your student account if you can. That's for students who, or that's for people who might not have, yeah, I use my student account all the time. I'm still using my student account, so don't worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and create a frame with F, right? So I'm going to press F here and make a really big frame. I'm thinking let's change the size of my frame here, right? So I'm going to click on frame 2 here. I want to change the size of my frame to 19 20 by 1080, right? Classic, screen style resolution. And I'm definitely going to get rid of this fill. And now we have a second frame. And my second frame should include my UI card. So just to make sure, right, we'll check in our pages inspector here. And frame 2 has rectangle GHW season launch. And from here, where'd you get the image? You can add in any image you want. This one is from the Global Hack Week season launch registration page. But use whatever you would like. It's not like you have to make one that looks exactly like mine. All right, awesome. So then what we're going to do is we're going to work through making this frame auto layout as well. So in case you forgot, we can go ahead and press Shift and A to auto layout a frame. Then we're going to go ahead and add in some web layout styling. So I'm going to go ahead and change. Nope. So I want to go ahead and set my alignment to my top left. Yes. I want to adjust my padding and spacing. So I will do 64 and 64. And I'll do spacing of about 32-16 down here. And then I want to do contents, grid, freeform alignment center. Where's my perfect. There's a option down here. I might need to allow layout wrapping. We may just see it later. How to do the frame inside. So you just want to make sure that your frame is selected. If you're talking about the stroke and the selection, that's how I did it down here. You can take a look at it. I'm not seeing the one setting that I need to swap still. For some reason, it's not showing to me right now, but that's okay. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part here, and that's going to involve I wonder if grid layout is now a good option. We'll see. Awesome. And then what I want to do is duplicate some of these cards to fill up this whole page. So we'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. I'm going to grab my frame and start adding these guys in here. Wait, no, I just copied all of frame 2. So let me undo. Grab just frame 1 in here. Do Command C, Command V. I feel like that's grabbing the whole thing. So frame 2 inside has frame 1. If I copy inside frame 2, there's frame 1. That's a lot of space, though. It's not what I want to do. So I'm going to try freeform layout here. And then inside frame 1, then go ahead and paste frame 2, right? But I don't want it to be freeform layout. Perfect. Okay. That's what we needed. Sweet, right? So now we can grab frame 1, right, where we have the wraps this way, right? So now frame 2 does wrapping. If I grab frame 1 and copy it, Perfect. There we go. Awesome. So now I go ahead and copy all of my lovely layout cards so they fill my frame. It does actually discuss, what that layout will look like, which is really cool. Figma did change the icons. I know, right? Okay, let's see here what's next. Then we've got our next part, which is going to be our dev mode basics. So we're going to go ahead and use our frame here to get it ready for development. So we're going to go ahead and click the dev mode button on the frame here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click this button here. I'm going to go ahead and get dev mode. All right, we've got different options here, right? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pick CSS and RFD. I'm going to set my color theme. I'm picking dark mode. Plugins for dev mode. We're not going to pick any right now. And then Figma for VS Code and Figma for Slack and Microsoft Teams. And go ahead and get the extension. Right, so I can go ahead and go into my VS Code install and grab the extension. Just Command C and Command V on frame 1. I already have Figma for VS Code. Amazing. Easy enough. So let's go ahead and press done here. Right. Awesome. And then let's go ahead and view the properties now. So I'm going to go ahead and in the top left drop down. So I want to select a section or top level frame to mark it ready for dev. All right, so I can go ahead and do that. And mark is ready for dev. Perfect. So now my frame is ready for dev. So I can go ahead and click on my frame here, right? And click on of my layer properties, right? I can see lots of different properties here, and then some of the code as well for my property, which is pretty cool. So there are lots of options, right? I can change my mind and I can end up using this in SwiftUI or in Android Compose or with XML or in UIKit or in CSS. Like I mentioned, we can also get Figma the code plugins like the HTML Tailwind Flutter Swift UI plugin, right? So I can try and add in this one, right? Try to add in Tailwind, right? Which will then go ahead and add in that with Tailwind CSS or add in, for example, SvelteKit. And then back to Swift UI, right? Things change. CSS up here. Awesome. And then what we're going to do for this option is we're actually, for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to pick Tailwind with React JSX. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go use the code generated from all of the options. Right, so we can go ahead and grab this code here. We're going to paste it into an HTML document, and then we're going to view it in a browser. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder here. Go to desktop, create a new. I'm going to just do file, new file. Do figma.html. Oh, no. I'll go ahead and save it to my desktop. Paste my code here. Right, perfect. And so I've pasted my code from here, right, into my, yes, I'm doing dev mode. We can always go back. We've still got a few more minutes. Not a super long time, but now taking a look at it, actually. I'm going to go ahead and my HTML file. Let me open this HTML file with a browser. So I'm going to do in here, Figma HTML. So if I go to my desktop, and perfect, right? So you can go ahead and see now when I share my screen here, which I lost it. So give me a second to bring it back. Perfect. So this is what my sample generated, right, from my code launch. Now, if you also look down here, I could go ahead and copy my text styles and my tailwind colors, right? So if I was to go ahead and go through this more concretely, I go ahead and do Visual Studio Code, right, and likely need to paste these in so they can see my text styles, which makes sense. But yeah, so that's a little bit about how to do very basic conversions from Figma to Figma Dev Mode. And that is it. But if you have any questions, Figma Learn or the Figma Resource Center are both really great resources. I'm going to go ahead and go back to this slide for about 2 more seconds so that you don't have my face, just my beautiful face, unfortunately for you. I'm kidding. Let me go ahead and share this slide to end us off here, right? So we've discovered how to make a web mockup in Figma Design and convert it to code with Dev Mode. If you want to experiment with Dev Mode further, try in the VS Code extension. If you want to learn either of them more, make sure that you can go ahead and try to sign up for the Figma education link. Go through mlh.link/Figma. Start there. To the person asking about upgrading to professional. If you have a university email, it should be pretty close to automatic. Yeah, I do need the HTML code gen to get the styling working out of the box, sadly, but that's okay. And yeah, so that is the end of our stream right now. Thank you all so much for coming. And then let's go ahead and leave any questions. Yep. Leave any questions at the end or for the end. You don't have to use MLH. You can use your college student account and your university. Totally not a problem. But we have, before we leave, a couple of things to do. First of all, Ryan is running our Get Good with Git workshop in, 30 seconds that you should totally join at mlh.link.io / it's going to be right here. And then in about 2 seconds. And then the last thing that I need from you all is to please give this stream feedback if you loved it at mlh.link / GHW feedback. And if you need anything else from me, you can find me on the Discord. Dev mode in VS Code. If you install the extension, it'll link you through some resources on how to get started with it. But if you've got any more questions about Figma, I have a great idea. You should join me for either today in Global Hack Week Day 2 tomorrow, same time tomorrow, or for one of my upcoming technical live streams on Monday and Wednesday night. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and let Brian get started. Thank you so much again for joining me. This was a really fun one, and I loved all of these lovely questions. And on this note, I'm gonna go ahead and head out. Bye, everybody.